This meeting is being recorded.
Hello and welcome to the New Filmmakers LA Monthly Film Festival. My name is Boyana Sandich. I'm the programming director at New Filmmakers LA. For those of you who don't already know us, we're a nonprofit 501c3 organization that provides monthly opportunities like this one to the independent film community in Los Angeles and beyond. I would like to start this session by first acknowledging the Tongva, Chumash, and Kits as the past, present, and future caretakers of the land, water, and cultural resources in the unceded territory of Los Angeles. I would also like to take a moment to affirm that NFMLA seeks actively to provide a safe space within our community for community members of all backgrounds and is inclusive of every race, nationality, sexual orientation, gender identity, age, religion, and ability. If you're here with us today, you're welcome here and we're happy to have you. I'd next like to take a moment to thank our incredible sponsors, without whom the work New Filmmakers LA does would not be possible, starting with our monthly venue host, the South Park Center, and its parent company, LBA Realty. Producer Circle sponsors Sunset Studios and SAG-AFTRA. Director Circle sponsors Sony Pictures Entertainment, Comcast NBC Universal Launch, the Walt Disney Studios, Blackmagic Design, and Scriptation. Foundation supporters, the LA City Department of Cultural Affairs, Golden Globe Foundation, the LA County Department of Arts and Culture, SNAP Foundation, the Bridges Larson Foundation, the California Arts Council, the Office of Los Angeles County Supervisor Holly J. Mitchell, and the Office of Los Angeles County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath. Our debut sponsors, PRG, SAG Indie, NBCU Academy, Mubi, Hub International Insurance Services, Burns & Sawyer, SB Cine, Entertainment Partners, the MBS Group, Emerson College Los Angeles, SoCal Gas, Stars, Film LA, the Motion Picture Association, the California Film Commission, and Fox. Academic Partners, California State University, Long Beach's Department of Film and Electronic Arts, California State University, Northridge's Department of Cinema, New York Film Academy and Television Arts, Los Angeles City College, and Art Center College of Design. And of course, our media partners, Los Angeles Times and Movie Maker Magazine. If you haven't taken a moment to review all of this weekend's festival programming yet, we encourage you to do so. We have a great lineup, so make sure to visit our website at nfmla.org to learn about the programs that we have coming up, both all day tomorrow and into next month. Before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. Today's Q&A is going to kick off with a 60-minute discussion between our wonderful panelist and our moderator. Throughout this discussion, we encourage you to use the chat to comment and to talk about all the things that are being covered. If you don't have your video on, please turn it on if you can so that we can see you and you can see us and we can all get to know each other face to face. Please also change your name on Zoom to reflect your name, title, and institution and or organization that you're representing if that's applicable. And then following the moderated portion of the conversation, we're going to turn around to you, our audience members, for a 30-minute interactive audience Q&A. So in order to ask a question during the Q&A, simply use the raise hand feature, which is available under the participants tab. Clicking that raise hand button will place you in queue in order to ask your question. And when it's your turn, a New Filmmakers LA staff member will unmute you. Just then make sure that you've also unmuted yourself on your end. And once you have the floor, we ask that you limit yourself to 1 to 2 questions max. That way we can get questions from as many people as possible. And if we have extra time at the end, we will go back for another round of questions. And if you don't have a microphone, you can also enter your question into the chat during the Q&A portion, and an NFMLA staff member will ask it for you. And also just please be sure to mind your video background and your audio if you're unmuted throughout the session. Since this is interactive, we just ask that you remain aware that you're on camera if your video is turned on. And with that, I'm excited to introduce our moderator, Jana Nagasi. Take it away, Jana.
Hello. Hello. It's a pleasure to be here, and welcome to this amazing section. And now I'm gonna call the co-writer director, Nate Boyer. Nate?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing fine, and you? Can you talk
I'm
a little
good.
bit about you, about yourself before we start talking about VMP?
Yeah, so my name is Nate Boyer. I was born in Tennessee, grew up mostly in the San Francisco Bay Area. My dad was a racehorse veterinarian, and my mom was an engineer. She went to school at UC Berkeley. She got her PhD in environmental science, and my dad had gotten his veterinary degree. So both, graduate students, very smart, very hardworking. And loved what they did, and they did a great job with me and my brother and sister, but they both worked full-time jobs all the time. And so first things first, I think they're a great example that you can have a family, you can have responsibilities and still follow your passions, pursue your dreams, and do what you want to do with your life. So anyway, I had very good examples there. I was very lucky to have that, because I know not everybody has that. And grew up there. And then, after high school, I wasn't really ready for college. I didn't know. I at that time I had no interest in storytelling or filmmaking. I liked movies. I think everybody, for the most part, does, at least some movies. But I just didn't really have that passion, interest, or understanding that this was even like a possibility for me. And I was a big sports fan. I grew up 49ers fan. They won a bunch of Super Bowls when I was a kid, so that was my team. So I graduated high school, played baseball, played basketball, played all these other sports. No scholarship offers or anything. So instead of going to college, I moved down to San Diego and worked on a fishing boat for about a year. And as much as I enjoyed that, there was no creativity in that, and I didn't really feel like it was my purpose. And it was around that time, I was 19, that I'd seen a few movies that sort of spoke to me in a different way than before, as a younger person. And I thought, wow, like I would maybe one day love to be a part of that community and telling stories like that. And, so eventually I moved up to Los Angeles for a bit. Then 9/11 happens, and I joined the Army. I was in the Army for almost 10 years. Went to college very late, went to college at 29, after, serving in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I was in the special forces. So it was a lot of, it was a high octane, very, high adrenaline, a lot of purpose and mission in what I did. There's a humanitarian side to what special forces do, which I really enjoyed. But it's tough. It's hard. You're working with people that sometimes you don't always agree with, and have different cultures and customs that maybe you don't fully understand. And you have to look beyond that, and understand that at the end of the day, or at least try to understand, we're all the same. We want the same things for the most part. We want to feel safe and belong and want what's best for our family. And we want to fight for something, and we want to solve problems and feel like we make a difference in the world. And that really helped me for moving forward in life. So I did that. And then I finally went to college. I went to college at 29. I went to the University of Texas. and tried out for the football team and made it. So I played football for a little while in college. But all this time when I was in the military and in school, I was like thinking about what struck me at 19 and 20 of like, I want to do this one day. Well, eventually, school ended and I got my degree. It wasn't in film. I took some film electives and finished my degree though, and football was over. I had a brief stint with the Seahawks and then got cut, and only played in one game, and that was it. No more football, no more military. And so I did an internship at a production company in LA, making coffee and cleaning the fridge out and picking up lunch and doing all those things that you got to do as an intern, unpaid. And it was tough. It was tougher at 34 because most of those people are, 19 to 22 kind of doing that. It was tough because it was humbling, I think, because it was like, man, I feel like I did all these things, but it was necessary. And so I did that, started to learn a bit about the industry and development and how projects work, and was fortunate enough to sit in on some meetings and phone calls and get to read some scripts and do coverage and all that stuff. And then slowly built the confidence to go try and write myself, and one day, try and make a movie, which we eventually did. So that's sort of the backstory that led me into this stuff. So it wasn't until my mid 30s that I really started this journey.
Amazing. So first, thank you for your service. And
Oh, thank you, man.
so let's just jump into the MVP. What was like the story is very is inspirational, is a lot of hope. It's about brotherhood as well. But what was like the main inspiration for the script?
I think the main inspiration, honestly, look, we live in really divided times, and I think everybody recognizes that at some level. But as a veteran, it's hard for a lot of us because we feel like, and I don't want to speak for everybody that's a veteran, I'm just speaking for myself, but I think a lot of vets feel like, look, I took the oath, and I want to defend the Constitution and the people that live in this country. But I also want to fight for those that don't have what we have here, and all of these things. But then to come back to a place that's very divided and people feel like they can't have conversations, they don't understand one another, and oh, you voted this way and you voted that way, so I'm just going to write you off as a human being, and I don't think that's good. I don't think that's right, and it doesn't feel good. It didn't feel good to to serve and to feel like you're trying to defend something that could do a lot better, that we could do a lot better as a society. And so for me, a lot of what was important in the movie was that these are two guys. One is a Marine who's living in a homeless shelter. He's a veteran. I've been out of the military a while and really struggling with letting go of the past and moving forward. And, he's on his own and he had a tough childhood and all this stuff. And the other guy is a football player, and he was a first round draft pick and made it into the NFL and played for years. But he always felt like he was on bad teams and he kept getting injured, and he felt like he was a bust. He felt like he just didn't live up to his potential, and that he still should be playing, and these guys are both kind of in their mid 30s, and which is relatively young if you look at the lifespan, but they feel like their greatest days are behind them, and they're just really struggling moving on. But on paper, it's a black guy and a white guy from completely different worlds, and now live in different worlds. The athlete, also has a family and lives in a nice house, and like he did okay financially. All that stuff apart, though, they're going through the same exact struggles. They are the same person in a lot of ways. They deal with they the same things get to them, and the same things, similar things anyway, excite them. And so I think for me, a big part of it was I wanted people to feel like they could relate to somebody that's very different from them, beyond the military side of it. Of course, I want people to try to understand from a veteran's perspective, maybe what PTSD is for a lot of us and what that feels like. I want people to be able to connect to that. And for athletes, I want people to empathize. Like, there's definitely a narrative that, and I understand that, but that like, well, you get to play a game and you make a lot of money, and but not every athlete's story is like that, and a lot of them feel less than, and they feel like when that's over, they have nothing else, and they're not good at anything else, and they'll never be worth a damn again. And that doesn't feel good. No one wants to feel that. Um, and so I really wanted people more than anything. I wanted them to walk out of the theater and feel like I can relate to these types of people, these groups of people. And I think it's cool that these two people who on paper have nothing in common were able to relate to each other and find that connection and brotherhood, as you said.
Yeah, yeah, it's so beautiful. And you cast, like the cast is really cool, really amazing. We have Mo McRae, Christine Ochoa, and I love her. I think she's an
She's
amazing
awesome.
actress. How was like
Mhm.
for you this process to find the perfect actress, especially Mo McRae, to play the main character?
Well, so a lot of, a lot of this business is, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, because you could be an incredible creative, you could be so smart, you could have the best idea in the world and the greatest script ever written, but a lot of it is um, getting people to believe that too, and relationships. You know what I mean? So that's an element that's super important in making things and making a film. And so for me, I looked back on that internship that I did, and I had developed a friendship with somebody there who was working his way up on the development side at Film 44, was the production company. That's Peter Berg's production company. And then eventually he had an opportunity to work with Sylvester Stallone when he was opening up Balboa Productions, it was a new company at the time. This is back in 2020. And Braden, I'd followed up with him. I just kept in touch with him, and I said, hey, I would love your thoughts on the script I'm writing, because it's based on an organization, a real veterans organization, veterans and athletes. So I should have said that. MVP stands for Merging Vets and Players in our world. The nonprofit organization brings together combat vets and former pro athletes and helps them find purpose and identity when they lose a uniform. So the movie is really it's based on a true story of the genesis of how this organization came about. So I sent Braden the script, and he was gracious enough to take the time to read it, but he was also, I will say, gracious enough to take the time to give me, to just destroy it, tear it apart, tell me everything that he thought was wrong with it, a million notes, which can be disheartening for people when something's very special to you. But I just thought, you know what? It means more to me when somebody takes the time to tell me how they think I can make it better and how I think I could fix it, than for them to say, this is really good, you did a great job, good luck. Like, that doesn't, that's not gonna serve me as much as someone who's critiquing the work. And that's hard for people to take. It's hard for me to take. Like, it doesn't always feel good, but you have to understand, if somebody's spending the time to do that, it's probably because they see something in you, and there's a possibility that they think you can get to this place. Like, coaches don't coach players, they don't ride players hard unless they believe in them and they think that there's something that they could provide on the field, and there's a belief there. So just remember that. But anyway, he gave me these notes, he gave me these thoughts, and he said, it needs a lot of work, come back to me. So I went through that with him and with other people, got notes from other folks for a long time, and finally one day he was like, I think it's in pretty good shape. I think you can, you should share this out and see if you can get some people attached. And I'm here to be helpful. And I said, well, can I let people know that you are part of the team, whatever that looks like, And he said, sure. And so now I've got this guy, Braden Aftergood, who was, producing partner with Sylvester Stallone. So from that alone, at least just his stamp of approval. And I'm telling people this when I'm sending it to, to agents or to whoever, relationships, friends I'd met who knows of somebody who's the manager of somebody else. I send them the script. I send them a little note saying, I would really appreciate your time. If you have a chance to read this, pass this on to your client. This is who I am. This is what the story's about. And Braden Aftergood said he is, willing to help us if we get to this place. But yeah, so I started sharing it out, and I got initially Tom Arnold was on board, which was really cool because he's a funny guy. He's actually brilliant, but he's out there. And I'd met him before once and just kind of stayed in touch as much as I could. He had a nephew who unfortunately was in the military and it took his own life, so there was a connection to him in this story. And then I started sending it to other actors that were very good, and I wasn't getting a lot of response, and or they were saying, hey, they think this is a great project, but they're doing something similar, or they're just going to pass on this one, or whatever that is, or you just never hear back, and you have to like be ready for that because it happens all the time.
Yeah.
So then COVID hit and lockdown, and of course we weren't doing anything for a long time, and I took that time to go back into the notes. I'm like, well, maybe it could be even better, and I need to rewrite again. And I just kept whittling it down, and I went from thinking maybe we'll make a $3 or $4 million movie to maybe we'll make a $1.5 million movie, to I'd had the opportunity to produce a project that was made for $100,000, a little horror film that I don't think is very good, but that's okay. We made it, and that's important,
Yeah, that's the most important part.
Yeah, we got it done. And then it was like, all right, I think I can make MVP for $300,000, ultra low budget. Because once you do that, rates go down on cast, and it's tough. I'm not gonna say it's not hard. It's very hard to make a movie like that, especially with talent that's working a lot. They may not want to take that kind of pay cut, but once I got the script down to a place I felt like I could shoot for that amount if the actors were on board to do it for not very much. And then I reached out to the athletes like Randy Couture, he plays himself in the movie, as well as Tony Gonzalez. Randy Couture is a 6-time UFC champion of the world. Tony Gonzalez was a Hall of Fame tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Diego Chargers. And both these guys, and the Falcons as well, I should say. And both of these guys were into acting and just starting acting a little bit and taking classes and getting little parts here and there. And I was like, well, they probably would love the opportunity to be in any movie at this point. So, and I want authenticity, so let me get them on board. So I got them on board, and they were in. They were like, I'll do it. And then once SAG put across their guidelines of like, these are the COVID rules, 6 feet apart, masks on set, cleaning equipment, testing, 3 times a week, all these things. I thought about, okay, I need to shoot this in LA because the story takes place in LA. I love the juxtaposition of like Hollywood and a veteran homeless shelter, which is a real place. We shot on location in this actual veterans homeless shelter that had closed down because of COVID, but the building was still there, and the city of Los Angeles allowed us to film there. I was like, I've got all these incredible pieces that are in place now, and then we have our guidelines. Let me just see who I can get. And I got connected to Mo McRae, who is a fabulous actor, but he's been so close on like some really big roles. Like he was runner up for Get Out, the lead role in that movie, which is an incredible movie, right? And he's just been so many things like that. Been on TV shows that only lasted a season, but he was one of the leads, and he's just awesome. And I worked on a movie. I had a small acting part in a movie called Den of Thieves with him. He had a much bigger role, but I'd met him there, and then I just said, hey, I want you to read this. I just tell me what you think. I'm looking for a lead, and I don't know what you're doing these days. And he was like, he read it, and then he read it again, and then he reached out. He's like, I read it twice. I have some notes, I have some thoughts, but because he himself is a writer director as well as an actor. But I think this is a really cool project, and I'd like to join the team if that's possible. And I was like, okay, awesome. We have not raised any money yet, but this is so helpful. So thank you. So then Mo led to Christina Ochoa, who you said, which also led to Dina Shihabi, who's also an incredible actress. um, and on and on. And then once I got those roles cast, I was like, now I'm going to cast actual veterans to play the other veterans. And these are about veterans that live in LA that are acting, they're pursuing acting. I had people audition for them. I didn't have a casting director, couldn't afford it. So I cast myself, and had them send me in audition tapes and would just, because I knew I was going to direct it anyway. And a lot of these people I knew. And then I cast from there. And then at that point, I took this package and I went out to try and find, $300,000. Unfortunately, I only found $200,000. But I said, you know what? I can't wait any longer. The shelter was going to close down completely. They were going to tear it down. And I was worried about also these actors, like they're busy. Once the industry opens back up, they're all going to get cast and stuff. And so I just said, let's just go. And so we just went, and it was terrifying. And it was my first time directing, and I was also acting in it. And but man, I had a just supportive group of people, a lot of veterans involved in front of and behind the camera, and a lot of people that weren't veterans that just were supportive of the project, and everybody was working for very little money, and I think, as tragic as COVID was, I don't think it would have been possible at that level without COVID. So I'm not grateful for COVID. Do not get me wrong. Certainly not grateful, but I think it's a lesson in understanding that when bad things happen to us, whether it's personal, individual, or as a society, there's also opportunities to make something beautiful out of that. We have to come together and, rise above tragedy, and support one another, support those that need it. But it's also like a lot of people, that's when they quit. A lot of people shut down, and they're too afraid to, continue on and chase their dreams. And it was like, well, if you're going to sit out right now, I'm going to step up, because like somebody needs to do something, and life needs to continue on, and we're going to follow the rules. We're going to be safe. We're going to be smart. We're going to take care of one another. But mental health is important too. And so like, we need to like figure this out as a team, and we did. And so, yeah, sorry, I rambled quite a bit. You asked about
That's
casting,
okay.
and but
That's okay. No, that's
yeah,
okay. It takes a village to create projects, to create
absolutely.
movies. It's not just like, especially is when you have a small budget like that, and then you're able to deliver a very wonderful movie. The like beautiful scenes, beautiful dialogues, and you see everybody involved and everything. And for the ones that didn't watch yet, the movie is available in Paramount Plus, Apple TV, Prime Video. Is MVP. It's an amazing movie, and you're gonna
Thank
learn
you.
a lot. And then it's so beautiful. And I have
Thank
a
you so much.
curiosity. How was it for you being? It's your director debut, and you also directing yourself. How was the challenge there? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was very challenging. I do not recommend it. Um, I right now I'm directing a documentary that I am a little bit on camera for, but very, very little. And it's so much better. It's so much, in this case, because we didn't have the full budget we thought we were going to have. If I didn't have to pay the director, the actor, one of the leads, the director, one of the producers, a writer, if I didn't have to pay these people, it was going to help me make it to that $200,000 budget. So I ended up playing the lead role, the other lead. Mo McRae, I think, is the true lead to me, the Will Phillips character, but sort of the second lead. Playing the veteran. And I understood that world. I was also a veteran, obviously, and I wanted to stay true to casting vets, but I wrote this person and wrote this character based on people that I knew, based somewhat on some of my experiences. And I just kind of knew, I felt like I could tap into that. And so that was helpful, but so challenging, especially on a budget like that, because you don't have time to call cut, go watch the take. You just got to keep going. You got to just trust the team. You got to trust the cinematographer, the DP. You got to trust the other producers. that are sitting behind the monitor that, and I did. I brought on my first my assistant director, one of the producers specifically as well. I had them watching every scene, and they knew what I wanted. I talked in depth about how I wanted it to look and feel, and oftentimes we would have the other actor do their coverage first. If there's a one-on-one scene, for instance, because Mo is such a pro, he's incredible, right? So we'd have him, we do Mo's coverage, or we do like a wide 2-shot maybe, and then do Mo's coverage and have him do it, a couple of different ways, because he nails it almost every time. Like first time, he just gets it. He's incredible. He's very smart and very talented and hardworking. So Mo, I lean on the people that are more talented than me, like Mo, and let him do this scene a few times, and then I would have a good feeling about what I thought worked out of those takes. And then I'd say, okay, that second take you did, that's the one, right? And now I have to now do that one again when in my coverage, and I have to like match that, you know what I mean? And find that. And so it's like, at least I'm able to watch him instead of watching the monitor. I'm watching him if I'm in the scene. Of course, if I'm not in the scene, of course I'm watching the monitor, but I'm able to watch him because I'm in the scene with him. And that's hard because you're trying to listen and be present in the scene and act, but you're also observing and sort of
To check if he's delivering what he
yeah
wants.
yeah critiquing is not the right word, but like examining, and like really I'm listening, but at the same time making sure it cuts and it works with like what is coming next or what we already shot or whatever. So that was the challenge, but it's all about going back to the team, like having a really strong team around you that you just trust, people that are more talented than you, and just and not only saying that, but like believing it and just trusting that they want to make a really good movie too. No one, if you got the right people around you, you got to have the right people, but no, the people, if someone's there to punch the clock, I don't care how much you're getting paid, a lot or a little, and it's not the right person for your project. And it's hard to have the conversation like that, but unless they're just doing catering or something like that, that's not creative. Like I get it. For some people, they're like, I could care less about the movie. I just need to feed my family. But if it's somebody that's got a creative part of this, sound, all these things are so important. They have to care, and they have to, and they have to feel connected to the story, and it has to matter to them, I think. And if they are, then you can trust them, that they want to make a really good movie too. Because we are making this movie. I am not making this movie.
Yeah, and you like being a veteran and being a former NFL player. What those experience you like that experience there? What do you bring to the movie set for your crew and cast?
Yeah, I mean, I think something that's really interesting about a movie set, especially as it pertains to my experience in the military, I would never compare combat to sports or making a movie. It's not war, of course, thank God. Like it's not a great thing, but a training mission, right? If we go out on a training mission, there are all these different departments. You've got people flying, you've got people on radios, you've got people that are medics, you've got people that are doing all these different jobs, and you may not know how they do their job or what they're doing exactly. Like, you know what I mean? You may not be able to step in and be a medic or step in and fix a radio if it breaks, but you have to work with them, and you have to all be flexible. And if somebody needs help in their department because, all of a sudden the weather changed and we can't shoot this scene outside, we got to go to page 76 now and shoot this scene that we weren't planning on. We've got to call this actor in, and like all these things are happening, right? You've got to maintain a level head, be okay with the fact that things are flexing, and try to be a good leader whether it's in your department, whether you're the director or the lowest person on the call sheet, it doesn't matter. Like you can be a leader still, and keep that positive attitude. Ask if you don't have anything going on, ask who needs help, what can I do to help, like especially when we're talking about these low budget projects, because every minute matters, you know,
Yeah.
and every minute you go overtime, it kills your budget and then you're screwed. You know, you can't do it. You just got to find a way. So I think that really prepared me is like that. Um, the, oh, you know, a big thing in the military is like, I always place the mission first. And I remember my DP saying this. I never even thought of this before. And we were having a conversation about something. And I think we might even been disagreeing on something. And, you know, he said, well, I'm always going to put the movie first, no matter what, you know, and he said that and it just like hit me. I was like, wow, first of all, thank God you're on my team. But also like, that's what we talk about in the military. Like the mission comes first. Of course, we want to keep each other safe and we all want to come home together, but like, this is our job. And we're trying to protect these people or help these people or whatever the situation is. Um, and so when he said, I'm putting the movie first. And I was just like, okay, well, the fact that you said that, now I'm going to absolutely do whatever you want to do right now, because like, I trust you. But also it was like, they're so similar in those ways, you know, and we've all got to put that movie, it really means the story, you know, really put the story first. And like, does everything we're doing here with what we're capable of and what we have, does this serve the story in the best way, you know? And if it doesn't, then we either don't need to do it or we need to figure out how to make that happen, you know, how to make the mission basically. So yeah, in that regard, but the team aspect, the different departments, the different moving parts, the sudden change, um, something going wrong every day, Murphy, if you've been out there, you know, every day, something goes incredibly wrong. Somebody doesn't show up. A location, somehow there was a miscommunication and they thought it was the Friday and it's Thursday and you're there knocking on the door and nobody's there. Like all this happens every day at something. You just got to be ready for it. You know, you don't want to have that impending doom feeling about you. You just got to understand, like, all right, we're gonna get punched in the face at some point today, so just be ready for it, you know. And when it happens, like, here it is. All right, great. I was waiting for this moment, and now we get to solve a problem because here's the problem. And somebody will freak out, and that's okay. You just got to comfort them, and yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll make it happen. So, but that's super important. And that in sports too, but in the military, that's very similar to movie set.
That's amazing. Also, let's talk a little bit about the organization merging vets and players,
Yeah.
because I think the movie leads to these organizations kind of. So can you talk a little bit about what you guys do over there? What like everything that come like when you can offer, like what was like
Yeah.
the mission and everything.
Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, I briefly mentioned it earlier, but yeah, merging vets and players we started in 2016. So I got out of the military. So while I was in college, I was still in the National Guard. So I had a very different college experience, aside from the fact that I was 29 to 33 when I went to college, which is, you know, it was fine. I enjoyed it. I don't think anybody should ever rule out. I thought about it the other day. I'm like, maybe I should go back and try to go to film school, you know, and learn more because I love going to school now. I didn't like it when I was younger, but it's such a cool opportunity. But you know, I was an older student and I was worried about fitting in and worried about, you know, I don't want to be 10 years older than the other freshmen and I can't connect to anybody. And even making the football team, it's like they're all still very young. Um, and so it didn't take long that I got past that because I was like, well, first of all, I remember being that age and I didn't think I was a dummy. You know, I thought I had something to offer and I um, had opinions, you know, and maybe I didn't have all the experience in the world, but, you know, life experience anyway, but I definitely was interested in a lot of stuff, you know, and I was trying new things and I wanted to go everywhere and see everything, you know, and all this stuff. And so that's a cool time. And I still felt that way coming out of the military or coming out of active duty and going to college. But when I went to college, I stayed in the National Guard. So in the summertime, I was going overseas. So I was playing football in the fall, going to class, and then spring practices in the spring and also going to class. and I would take my finals early in April, and then I would go to Afghanistan for about 3.5 months and do that, and then come back and go play football again. So it was a very high, like a lot of tempo in what I was doing. There was not really ever a time to reflect and relax and just enjoy that. I mean, I enjoyed what I did. So I'm not going to say I didn't enjoy. I enjoyed my time in the military. I really enjoyed my time in college and playing football. So that was fun. But I just didn't. I didn't think about what it would be like when this was over because I was in the middle of it and I needed to put all my energy into doing these things, and practicing and staying ready and trying to, I didn't want to lose my job. I didn't want to lose my spot on the field as a player. And so then I got out of the military in March of 2015, and then I got cut from the Seahawks in September of 2015. So I went from having camouflage and a jersey and all this purpose, and people were like, "Wow, what a cool story!" and like, "You're awesome," like you're my hero. I want to like, not that I still had friends and family that you know stayed connected to me, but as soon as that was over, like all that shine was gone, and it felt like nobody really cared anymore. And maybe that's a spoiled way to be, and it probably is. It's an entitlement that I felt like, all these people cared before. Why, I'm still the same person. Why do they not? Why do they not care anymore? And it's just like that's life. I mean, and now it's time to do something else, and you can do a lot of things. The world is your oyster. Um, but I didn't feel that way. I felt kind of lost and kind of like I don't have a team anymore. I don't have a reason to get up at 6 a.m. and go train and prepare because I don't have a mission anymore. And I felt like kind of purposeless. And I was 34, which isn't young, but it's also not very old. And I just was like, this can't be it. Like what? I mean, I can't have peaked already. Um, and so it was like a scary time. And a guy named Jay Glazer, who he's like he's on Fox NFL Sunday. It's like a sports pregame show before the NFL games. And he knows a lot of coaches and players, and I had met him through his gym. I was training at his gym when I was getting ready for the opportunity with the Seahawks. And so afterwards, I just, I was done, and he could tell something was off. And he was like, "Are you thinking about going back in the military?" I was like, "I don't know. I don't know what supposed to do now." Like I'm like, I've always had this dream of one day to doing making movies and doing that, but I don't know. I don't know how to start that really. Like I took some electives in college, but I'm out here and I feel intimidated. Everybody, all these USC film students and these young people that are making movies already, and like they're so much more talented than me, and I don't even, I don't understand the lingo, and I just I don't know. I feel kind of awkward. And he was like, "Well, um, let's like think about things for a little bit because there's a lot of people in your position, a lot of vets and athletes that feel your way." He's like, "I know on the athlete side that they struggle with that. And, most players that play professional sports don't make a lot of money. There are some that make millions, of course, but when you look at all the sports, most of them don't. A lot of Olympians who get a lot of, they go win a gold medal and they're broke. You know what I mean? Um, and then there's of course other sports that don't make the money that football does, um, and a lot of players that never quite make it. Maybe they play in college and almost make it like I did, but not I played in one game. Like I didn't make even thousands of dollars really. And then it's over, and you feel that emptiness. A lot of people feel that, and it's not just veterans and athletes. I think transitions are hard for people. Like if you ever lose a job or a loved one, or anything like that stuff's tough. It's tough to when life throws a big curveball at you, and this is all and this is what you're passionate about, and all of a sudden you just can't do it anymore. That's hard. That's a great thing about storytelling. It's one of the few things you can do forever till the day you die. It doesn't matter. Like even if your brain's going, you can still do something at some level. So I love that. And so it was his idea. He's like, why don't we bring these two groups together, vets and athletes whose careers end often in their 20s, maybe 30s. And so that's why we started merging vets and players. And we meet up, and if you get a chance to watch the film, please do, because it really shows what we do. We essentially meet up. We have chapters all over the country now, which is awesome. And we meet up in the gym, veterans and athletes together, weekly or every other week or monthly, depending on where you live. And we'll train together. We also have virtual options on Zoom. If there are veterans or athletes on this call, or if you know of any in your circles, please let them know about MVP. But we meet up in the gym and we train together for 30, 45 minutes, get a good sweat going, give each other shit, have a great time. Like, you know, and then we huddle up afterwards, and it's like open forum, peer-to-peer coaching. Nothing is off the table, and we have men and women from every branch in the military and every sport. It's like, if you got something going on that you need to talk about, something that's bothering you, or if you're really struggling, please do. If you have things in life that you want accountability on, and you're like, I wish someone, I wish I was pursuing this thing, but I'm too afraid, and I just need somebody to like hold me to it. Or if you have wins in life, like things that are going well, like you reconnected with somebody that had been out of your life, and like share that with us too. Just talk about anything. And it's really just I don't like saying support group, because that feels like something else, but it is essentially,
it is.
It really is. And it's like, and I know a lot of people in the film and film industry do this too. Actors do this all the time, and it's cool. You should do that, outside of class, outside of offset. It's good for team building, but it's also good for the soul, for us to like turn all that stuff off and remember that we're human beings, and we need to like, if we're grieving, we need to grieve. We need to let ourselves grieve. If we're angry, we need to, in a healthy way, exercise that. Whether, for me, that's physical exercise. Like when I'm angry, like if I go do that, that gets it out of there. Take it out on the gym. If you have some exciting news, like you need people to share it with. Like, we want to hear that. It's good for you. It's good for them. So that's what MVP is really all about. That's what it provides. That's the purpose of it. It's very simple. It's just rebuilding a locker room in a community for those that had a strong one and really felt connected to something that now maybe feel disconnected.
Yeah, it's a community. You create a community of people that have needs to go over something, or to be there. I love it. I think it's amazing. So
Thank
we
you.
on that, like you start, let's say, late on the game, directing, but
I'm a
it's
late
not that
bloomer.
late. I
I've
don't
always
think
been a
it's
late
never
bloomer.
late. No, it's
No,
never too late to pursue your dreams. And if you have an advice to give to young people that are gonna do their first movie, or to the old ones that want to pursue a career in entertainment, being a director, a producer, an actor, what advice would you give to them?
you said it. First of all, it's never too late. It's also never too early. Don't think, oh, it's not the right time. I'm not smart enough. I don't know enough people. I don't, you know, I don't know anybody with money that can pay for this thing. I want to make this big movie or whatever. That's great. But right now is the only time that you know that you have. So if you're not writing and shooting stuff on an iPhone, it doesn't matter. Making things, trying things professionally, like if this is what you want to do, if you're not doing that, you're crazy. Like you are out of your mind. People say, and I guarantee people in your life have told you, oh, you're trying to be a movie star or a famous director or what, you're crazy. And it's like, no. The crazy person is the one who has that dream and is not doing, not even, they're just trying to block it out of their mind because it's too painful, and they're not around it, and they're not letting themselves be creative every day and try to make stuff, and they're not taking those big swings. Because at the end of the day, we're all going to die, and it's going to be very sad. But we're not going to know because we're going to be dead, right? It's not going to be sad for us. But on those last moments of your life, like if you are, if you're gonna have that question in your head and like, what if, or I wish I would have, oh, that's gonna kill you more than any natural death. Like, I can't even imagine that. That's sad to think about. I don't even want to. I don't want to think about it because I think. Sorry, I get a little emotional because I a lot of friends in my world. Somebody recently this week, actually, an athlete took his own life, and
Personally.
I imagine it's okay. I mean, it happens a lot. It's happening a lot to not just veterans and athletes, just people. It's so sad. But when I think about the things that are probably they're probably going through, the things they're probably feeling to lead them to that place, I would guess that they have dreams too, and they have passions, and they're afraid to do them, or they're not, or they're worried about what other people are going to think, or they're worried about failing, they're worried about whatever. But the biggest failure is not trying, and not doing the thing that you love. That is the biggest failure in life. And the biggest regret you're going to have, I think, is lying there, in your last days, or, making these your last days on your own, which happens sadly. And thinking that you're not worth it, you're not good enough, and that you're not capable, and that that you just wish you would have tried, you wish you would have done with that thing, like that will just it'll hurt you, it'll hurt people around you, it just you're doing yourself such a disservice. The biggest limitations we put on ourselves, the biggest limitations in this world are ones we put on ourselves, period. Like that's it. I've seen people missing limbs, climb incredible mountains, literally. And they never would have done it if they had all of their limbs, and I've talked to these people and been with these people, and they accomplish these things. And it's like those tough things we go through, and the things that we feel that don't feel so good, you have to live with them, and you have to like embrace them because they make you stronger. And then in the face of those things, you have to go out and just do your thing, do what you love, just do what you love, to fight what you hate, and just try. Because eventually something will go your way. I promise, it'll happen, and things will start. This is how it works. The dominoes will start falling, and you'll have a setback, but then you just get back up and you keep going. And that's just life. But anyway, I just, it really matters to me because we're in a, pivotal time in our society, I think in the world, where, we often compare ourselves to what we see and what we think life is supposed to be like, with social media. There's values in social media and the internet. Obviously, we wouldn't be able to have this conversation without to people all over the country or wherever everybody is, without this. So there's so much value in it, but there's a lot of danger too, because, we think all these people are just living their best life, and we're not, and it's not true. It's not true. Everybody struggles. Everybody has shit. But you either can let the stench overwhelm you, or you can turn it into fertilizer and grow some crops, So I think that is, there's just such an opportunity. If you have those challenges and you have that pain, use that, write about that, exercise that. Like that is important stuff. And if you're young and you haven't experienced much, I'm not saying go try to find pain. I'm not saying that, but experience the world, experience things that you are afraid of, or that you're not comfortable with, or that you think you won't connect to in any way. Like go meet those people, go to that place, like get out there and let yourself be changed a little bit, and let yourself live. Because if you really live your life, then you're going to be able to, like, tell stories in such a way that the rest of the world will just connect to it. If you're just if you're too focused on how you think things are supposed to look and things are supposed to feel, but you don't know what things actually feel like because you haven't had your heart broken or whatever, then it's going to be really hard. So I think that's important as a young person. Start making things, but also go out there and like live your life, and if you're interested in something, check it out, try it. Unless it's hurting you or somebody else, don't do that. So there's always there's always, a little asterisk for the bottom of the page. So, make sure those are positive things, of course. But yeah, there's some wild stuff out there that I never would have thought I would be around or learn about. And, and still every day, I'm 43 now, still every day, I struggle with something, or I'm like, I need to get out of here and go do, take that trip and go see that thing or whatever. And I don't do it, and it'll start stacking up until I get to this pivotal point where I just have to, or I'm going to burst. And, but all that stuff, there's so much value in it, for storytelling. And those are, I mean, I'm willing to bet the movies that you love, the scripts, the stories that just move you more than anything you've ever seen, are about people that are about and or written by people that have really experienced some stuff and lived their lives. And that's important.
Amazing. Yeah, that's a good advice. Just try to I don't know, experience everything. Don't be afraid to start doing something
It's
and to talk
it's okay
about.
to, I think it's okay to be afraid. I should have, and maybe I did a little bit, but I think I think being afraid is not a bad thing. It's just, don't let that control you. Don't let the fear control you. But like, if you're, for me personally, when I'm afraid of things, it's usually because I'm like interested in them. You know what I mean? Unless it's like a poisonous snake, not really. I'm actually afraid of those. Like, I don't need a poison snake, but there's certain that maybe I should face that. I don't know. But there's, that whenever there's something, when you're nervous about something, it's because you care about it. When we're nervous about a meeting or whatever that, or you are making a movie and you're heading to set, whether it's the first day or the last day, and you're just like, you feel this, like, this nerves, and like, you're scared. That's because you care about it, and so you're probably doing the right thing if you're feeling that a lot, and eventually those things will settle. And but the best performances on a football field I've ever had were when I was nervous, a little bit nervous, because it helped me focus, because I cared. And so I think it's the same. I think it's the same with this stuff, with filmmaking. I think you're supposed to be, you're supposed to feel that way because it matters to you.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now we're gonna go to the audience questions. If anyone have a question, you can drop at the chat or raise your hand using the function. Yeah,
Well, I'll just jump in and let everyone know. I put it in the chat, but if you have a question, you can raise your virtual hand by clicking react at the bottom of the screen and then raise hand. And that will put a little hand next to your name or your face. And then I'll call on you and unmute you so you can ask your question. So yeah, does anybody have any questions to start off?
Don't be afraid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Lei Chao. Lei Chao is one of the filmmakers we're featuring in our festival tomorrow, actually.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Nate. Thank you so much for coming today and talk to us.
Of course.
I resonate with your story a lot because I went to film school, my dream film school at UCLA when I was 32.
Nice.
I graduated last year when I'm 34, and I'm currently in National Guard. So I
Cool.
finished basic training, and that's when I got the acceptance letter to UCLA, and that after 3 times of trying to get into the school. I resonate a lot with getting out of the service because I just came back from a 6-month training to switch my MOS to a combat journalist. So I officially a combat journalist working for the Army, and I'm thinking about going active. this film festivals this weekend is the last screening for my film Doldrums. It's also a military topic film. I'm very interested into heroic narrative and talking about veteran stories. So um I know that we're not supposed to like asking in front of the public, but like I found your Instagram. Would it be okay in the future for me to like send you a direct message asking for some advices or some guidance? Because I'm about to go active duty next year, and
Yeah,
I'm gonna
sure.
I want to utilize the combat journalist job to get exposed more with real life service member stories, and hopefully from there I can have some inspiration and write some stories, and then we'll come back and
Yeah.
I can see my career very similar to yours, like making a low
Mhm.
budget film, trying to make it work, trying to tell a story that matters to us a lot. But yeah, I just want to say hello and put my name there. And would love to connect later because it's my next contract can be like 3 years or 5 years. Who know? I might get stationed in Germany or Korea. There's a lot of things going on, but yeah, I just want to put my name out there and say hi.
Yeah, thank you, Licha. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I mean that's first of all, thanks for doing what you're doing. Yeah, and I think something to kind of keep in mind as you're out there doing your job. Obviously, you are going to be telling stories because you're going to be a journalist. Um, but also, you know, uh, I think it happens more and more in life now when I'm just in situations and around different people, and they kind of tell me they tell me a story that something they experienced, or I see something they're experiencing, or like the other day, my buddy was just telling me his story of how he proposed to his wife, and it's hilarious. Like it's just one failure after another. Like the day went very, very wrong. And I was just like, man, that's such a great scene for a movie. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I think you'll probably already be doing that, but just like, without having to manipulate that, but just as you're listening and learning, thinking like, what are these sort of because there's so many. I think, in the veterans perspective, it's really important for us as veterans when we're telling stories to not tell the story that's already been told. Like there's a lot of military movies out there, and a lot of times it's kind of the same things. They struggle with the same things, and they deal with them in the same ways, and oftentimes that's very unhealthy. And um, just the tropes. There's tropes everywhere, in movies, and just what are the elements, and what are the things you experience and see that humanize, not that they're not humans, but to outsiders sometimes they think, oh, that's someone in the military. Like that's not a regular person, that's a veteran. They're different, which we are, but we're still people. We're still a mess, obviously. I'm here crying on this damn interview. So but yeah, but I think that's super. I think that's awesome what you're doing. That's a great example, though, of like continuing to live your life and do these things while, because you're going to be gathering these stories and experiencing these things. And I'd love to hear a story about your experiences doing that. And I think that's super interesting. Anyway, so I love that. It's cool.
I just have a follow-up question that I meant to ask and then forgot. So I started very late, just like yourself. I graduated when I'm 34.
Yeah.
I want to ask, what are challenges being late in the game as a older filmmakers compared to like 20 something years old filmmakers that has already made film when you first enter the industry. I actually started making film in Vietnam, and I came to United States when I'm 22 without speaking English because I want to have education in film. So that's like, I'm very
Yeah.
passionate about this career, but I do have that doubt in myself when I
Mm,
came to UCLA at 32, and all of my classmates, the oldest was 25.
yeah,
The
right.
oldest was 25. My thinking, the way that I approach things are different. I'm still a good friend with everyone, but it's just like I don't hang out with them the way that all of the young kids hang out together. Sometimes I feel isolated. It's just
Mm,
because we older, we have
yeah,
we've been there, done that already, and but we still have to be a part of the team because we're making movie
totally.
with them during film school. And then after we graduated, the way that I want to develop my career also different because I do have some experience. I've been through a lot, so I kind of like. My question is, how did you navigate when you were in that situation as an older filmmakers, and how do
Yeah.
you make yourself genuinely be a part of a team and don't make it across as if you just older you can't be a part of it or
Yeah.
um you
Well,
know.
I think, yeah, I think, well, first of all, there are a lot of advantages to being older and to having that experience and all that. But some of the disadvantages are, you know, like you said, the disconnection, but also, um, uh, maybe not understanding, you know, what works today for young people, or kind of getting in, you know, putting yourself in their shoes. So I think like the challenge is you kind of have to let go of a lot of those things. You have to let go of the notion that, just because you've experienced more things or lived longer or done more things or been more places, that you know more than this person about this thing, or that, you know, your way is going to be the most efficient or the best, because it may not be. And I think, the more you can sort of humble yourself around, them, and get to know them and ask them a lot of questions and be genuinely interested in them, and develop those genuine relationships and friendships even, it's gonna serve you. When I'm like on the movie on MVP, almost all of the crew was very young, you know, because I wanted it to be the new shit, you know. I wanted it to look good. I wanted it to be like, what are the trends? What is the, like, these, a lot of these people were pretty young out of film school, but it's like what are you guys, what movies do you like right now? Like what are you, you know, what are you watching, or what are you excited about, or what, you know, to your camera team, like what kind of stuff do you want to try when you read this script? Like what, you know, if it's up to you to be creative here, you know, if you were directing or whatever, I mean, you are the director of, you know, photography here. Like what, how would you shoot this? How would you shoot this scene, or what do you want to do? And kind of like trying some of those things, especially in the, you know, in a setting where you're able to, where there's not, where you have time to, you know what I mean? But I think that's really important, and kind of giving them some ownership over stuff. I mean, that was something that I prided myself on with MVP, because yeah, uh, except my first AD was a little bit older than me, and one of the producers was a little bit older than me, but I think pretty much everybody else, besides some of the actors, was a lot younger. I think they were pretty much all in their 20s, you know, and and even the vets, you know, even the vets that were working on the thing, they were pretty young. Um, but yeah, I think when we shot it, my DP was 25, maybe 26, you know, and so the ACs and the you know, the gaffer and the grips and all, they were his age or younger, you know. Um, but I like that, you know, because they work hard, and they're just a lot of them are just excited to have this opportunity, but also, they've got fresh ideas, you know, and things that I never would have thought about, because I grew up on different movies and different things, you know, and, but I was like, well, what's the goal of my story? I want this to relate to everybody. I want this to relate to young people too. I don't want just veterans to watch this, and I don't want just people my age and older to watch this. You know, I want young people to watch this. I'm working on a documentary right now about the 80th anniversary of D-Day. So the guys we're interviewing are like 97 to 105 years old, telling their story one last time before they pass. And my crew, once again, very young, and we're like interviewing people that are 18, 19, 20, same age as these men when they went ashore in Normandy, during World War II, and getting their perspective on the world today, and like, you know, how they feel about their country, and how all these things that I never thought we would be talking about. And I'm like, oh, I want to do I want to do something about the 80th anniversary of D-Day, and now it's like turning into this project of, that's a huge part of it, of course, but also like some of the sentiments of young people, and the fears of being forgotten, and all kinds of different side stories and themes that came out of conversations with young people and younger ideas than mine anyway. So yeah, it's all there for you. I think just don't get too frustrated. I know it's easy to, but there you'll find them. You'll find your people, if you keep meeting people, and someone will be younger, some will be older, some will, be the same age, whatever. But yeah.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I think I saw another hand from someone. Yeah. Temateo. Apologies if I mispronounced your name.
Hi, I just go by Tayo. Sorry, it's like showing my full name right now. But thank you so much for this conversation. I think my biggest question, and sorry if you kind of covered it, but I'm in the process of raising financing for my first feature, and I'm wondering how you overcame that hurdle of getting that first money in for your project, especially as a first-time filmmaker.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on your budget and everything. I mean, all those things are, obviously factors. Because, what I had to ultimately do was shoot it for shoot it for 5% of what the original line producer had written that this movie would cost. And there's certainly a version of it that cost $4 million. And I would have loved to make that movie too. It would have been maybe a little less stressful. But anyway, I mean, I think this is just my opinion, but taking a serious look at if this is my first movie, and I think most first-time directors understand probably not going to get paid on this one, taking that out of it for yourself. Like I mean, if you're not in a place to survive that way, I understand that's different. You're going to have to take something, but for the most part, maybe you have some of the back end, and if you're so lucky to sell it and gets distribution and make some money, then you get paid that way. So I think whittling down in that way as much as possible. And then, if it's a matter of not really knowing anybody, or knowing where to start with a network that would know somebody, I mean, you have to build and I don't know where you're at on things, but, build a package of whether it's a producer that has done these things before that can help in that regard, or a talent that that would move the needle at least somewhat. All of those things are sort of the key components to getting it financed. Like, unfortunately, we're in a time right now that there's such an emphasis on you got to have a name in it, and I don't know if that's necessarily. I don't think that's actually true, because I didn't have any big names in it. Eventually, after we shot the film, Sylvester Stallone, who's Braden Aftergood's producing partner, allowed us to put his name as an executive producer. He didn't do anything to help, and he didn't ask for anything, so I'm grateful. And he was very gracious, and I'm very lucky to have that. But that was sort of later. So I think it's just what looking at what is your budget, finding out what pieces of what certain talent, if you have certain people in mind, actor wise or whatever, would help move the needle on it and get it made. I think of what's a good example of there's a lot of good examples of pretty low budget movies that maybe just have one. I saw this movie called Fremont recently. I don't know if you've heard of this movie. I really liked it. It's black and white, recent, tough one to make. It's black and white. It's very artsy. It's very slow. It's about a young Afghan woman who's living in California after the fall of Afghanistan. She was, the Taliban was not very good to her and her family, so she left, and she's working at a fortune cookie place, they make fortune cookies in San Francisco. She works there, and her life is it's very Wes Anderson kind of, you know what I mean, really kind of slow deal. But they had a little cameo towards the end from I can't think of his name right now, Jeremy, the guy in The Bear, the main guy, right? And I think that's before The Bear really blew up, but he was already working on stuff quite a bit. And that little, I was just wondering, because I know it's a very low budget movie, but I was wondering, I was like, I wonder if somehow, you know, they got this script to him and that's what got it financed, just because he has that one little piece of attachment that was, you know, helpful in that way. But there's producers that do that too. If, you know, finding producers that, yeah, Jeremy Allen White, that's his name. Thank you very much. Yeah, finding producers that that either have connections to those people or they themselves have done enough films that they know how to kind of to do that. Because there are people that's kind of all they do on the producer side. They're less on the creative side. They just they get movies made, and they, you know, they have a fee and they take a percent and all that stuff, and that's just what you're gonna have to live with. But they know people, they have that network of people that potentially would finance films, and they can find people that are interested in your project and the story you're trying to tell, because that's key too. I think you got to find people, especially with your first one, that don't see this as just a, you know, a cool opportunity, because the reality is 3% of movies make money or something like that. It's very low, you know, so it's more of a donation than it is an investment. But if there's somebody that's got, you know, is able to invest, they're in a financial position, and they are passionate about your project or interested in your project, like that's the person or interested in that subject matter, that's the person to go after and pursue, you know. And there's lots of tax write-offs and all kinds of a whole nother conversation too that works for some of these people depending on where you're filming and things like that. So, but yeah, I think that's really it. If you don't necessarily have a line to any, because I didn't really either, and I kind of just had to figure that. It took a long time figuring that out, and just kind of talking to different people, and then trying to find people that were passionate about the idea, you know, of making a movie about MVP or whatever. So
amazing. Thank you. Yeah, no, this is helpful. I think yeah, I'm kind of in the later stage. I'm in LA. I'm from the Bay as well. So
nice. What part?
Yeah, and it's a Bay Area story. So I think, yeah, just
cool.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is just putting the pieces together. Like, do you think having Sylvester Stallone as an EP, even just by name, help?
Well, yes, but we had already, so Braden helped more because, well, I don't say more, but so Stallone wasn't until after the movie was shot and done. He didn't want to put his name on it, and I understand this, until he saw a cut and was just like, okay, it didn't totally F it up, you know? So that, and I respect that. It's like, if you look at someone like that's credits, like, of course they've done his first movie that he wrote and acted in was Rocky, which did pretty good, you know. I think it won Best Picture. Anyway, but yeah, so that would have helped with much more budget if it would have been beforehand, but he didn't put his name on it until later. But Braden did, and Braden, he's not a big, you know, name. If you talk to anybody on the street, they're not going to know who that is, but people within the industry know who that is, or they look him up on IMDb and they're like, oh, you know, he produced Wind River, you know, he's worked with Taylor Sheridan and obviously Stallone stuff, and, you know, whatever. So they're like, oh, okay, this is like a, you know, for lack of a better term, a real producer, you know, someone that's like done some stuff. So they're gonna give that thing a read and more of a consideration, because, you know, you found that person. So
Awesome.
But yeah, I think trying to find if there's movies that yours is like, look those up, look at the producers on those IMDb lists, and research those people, and then like contact them. Those people are a lot easier to find and to contact than, you know, like a celebrity or a big name. But I mean, like that, I think that's worth it, you know, worth having those conversations. It's not that hard to find people. Like, I think people are afraid to pick the phone up and just because they're just afraid of getting, because you're afraid of getting rejected. And like, I get it, like rejection sucks, but you're going to get rejected so much doing this. You just got to get used to it. It's
Mhm.
like, it's all good. It doesn't mean they don't like your story, or it doesn't mean your story's not great. It just means it's not for them, and that's okay. But yeah, like even with this D-Day documentary, tracking down all these people, it's been, I'll Google stuff and find articles, and then I'll just reach out to the newspaper that wrote the article and try to find the journalist. And then I find the journalist and I'm like, hey, do you remember interviewing this guy back in 1996? And they're like, yeah, and I think he's still alive. And I'm like, oh, awesome. Do you know how to get in contact with anybody? No, but this is where he lives. And I'm like, okay. And then I try the local VA. Whatever, you can find him. But yeah, you can get a hold of people. Just be persistent, be annoying, politely annoying.
Awesome. Thank you.
No, thank you. Appreciate it. Where in the Bay, by the way?
A peninsula, like
Oh, cool.
Palo Alto, Mountain View.
Oh, awesome. I grew up in El Cerrito.
Oh, nice,
So,
nice.
Yeah. Anyway, nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
Okay, now we have a question from Enrico.
Hi, my name is Enrico.
What's up, brother? How are you?
Good. You're in the Army, right? Correct?
I was, yes.
Great. So I was in the Marine Corps. So thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you, brother.
I've been in a joint unit, so I have a really good friend that's in some Army spec op unit. So was there anything you found that didn't work well, or anything like military type habits that didn't translate? I asked this because I was in like a forum and it was an online forum, but I was saying certain things. I was like, oh, maybe if I ever get to be a film director, like the director eats last. Some people were like, jump down my throat. You can't do that. So it's a tradition, like in the Marine Corps, when we have things,
yeah,
the highest ranking person eats last. It's like
Leaders Eat Last is a book, and it's a great
it's like you don't leave work until if you're a commander or sergeant, you don't leave work till everybody's done. You can't just be like, go do push-ups, sit-ups, clean everything, and I'm gonna go home with my family. Like, you have to stay there until everybody's done. Like, a sign of respect, and also they make you look good, right? Like, whatever you're working on is not gonna be good unless they're taken care of and they're hungry.
Yeah.
People jumped down my throat, and I was like, okay, maybe that doesn't work. Also, I know, like, in the military, there's a tendency to be kind of direct. Like, you messed up, you did this, you're fat. So is there anything else, like lessons learned, that you think that?
Well, yeah, no, that's the big one
that don't work well in
that's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. The big one is communication styles, because like we and it doesn't go over well with people in the military either for a long time, until you just get calloused because you've been called so many things, and and I think slowly the military's getting away from that, and I think there's value in that, and also maybe not in some ways, because I don't want just as a society, I don't want us to be too sensitive, but I think we should all be respectful at the same time. And yeah, Hollywood's in a very weird place in this generally. Kamal Nanjiani, I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. He's the actor in I think he wrote it too, The Big Sick, and he's in Marvel Universe. He's really good actor. He's hilarious comedian. But he had this really great speech, I thought, recently, when he was talking about, where we're in this world where, we're maybe getting a little overly sensitive, in the sense of like, well, this guy's Middle Eastern. He can't play a bad guy because that's not good, because he's Middle Eastern, and that we don't want them to think that we think that everybody that's Middle Eastern is a terrorist. And he was like, I want to play good guys. I want to play bad guys. I want to play a terrorist. I want to play a love interest. I want to play all these things. This is what I want to do, because I'm a human being. I'm a person. I'm capable of all of those things. You know what I mean? And I thought that was really cool. So I hope that like that narrative continues. I'm a big proponent at the same time, in as far as casting goes, trying to find somebody who actually has lived that. Right. And that's why with MVP, I wanted to cast veterans to play the veterans. If I didn't find a certain veteran for a role, I couldn't find one to make this role that was working, I would have cast an actor who wasn't a veteran. Right. because I was like, I need to make this work. But I made a concerted effort. And I think that's great. And I think we should do that. But so with that being said, as far as how we talk to people, I completely agree with you that leaders should eat last. Like if you're a director on a film, you should be the first one in and the last one out every day. And it sucks because you're tired, you don't sleep that much. That's why you got to take, if you can afford to do it for your movie, do 5-day weeks and take 2 days off, man. It will serve you and everybody else so much. It's hard on a budget. Like my first couple of movies I was involved in was like 6 days on, 1 day off, 12-hour days. And it breaks people down, man. And it's hard. But so that's a big thing, because as a director, you're going to be working those 10, 12-hour days on set. And then 3 or 4 hours after that, you're going through the schedule and you're going through dailies if you have time or whatever. And you're going through the script again. Like, what are we shooting tomorrow? What did we do today that changed? What performance did this actor give that was awesome that I want to put in the movie? But now what does that change in the rest of the story? So it's like every day, long story longer, you're sleeping 4 to 5 hours a night, maybe, if you're lucky. You know what I mean? Like, you're just not sleeping that much. And so it is what it is, though. That's what you get for your vision being made. You know what I mean? Like, you get to go through that. And it's a blessing too. It's like you're making your movie, telling your story. So all those things, yes. But as far as, I think there's a way to be direct and to be honest with people, but also be respectful and be sensitive to that. So when I was with the Seahawks, and it was a short time, but I'm grateful for it, the coach was Pete Carroll. So for those that are football fans, he was the head coach at USC. Before that, he was in the NFL prior, and he was a failed NFL coach, and he was high stress, and he was yelling at people, and he was just not fun from what I heard. I didn't meet him at that time, but not a fun guy. And they lost. He was with the Patriots and the Jets, and they lost. So then he gets fired, and he goes to USC and coaches college again. And he completely changed his way of communicating with people and the way of just being present and existing. And like, he was like, I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna enjoy this. I'm gonna work no less hard. I'm gonna work harder, but I want an environment that people want to be. I want them to want to come to work every day and want to come to practice and to compete, because they're having a good time competing and doing the thing that they love. And I think that is important on a movie set. So you want to cultivate an environment where people they're excited to see you when they show up on set, because you are there first. You're already there greeting them, and when something goes wrong, when a player screwed up on the field, coach, and he made the other coaches do it, he's like, you don't need to browbeat this guy in front of everybody and scream and holler and throw your hat and make a scene. He knows he messed up, and now you're doing this and you're embarrassing him, and now he's going to play scared or nervous, or he's going to resent you, or he's not going to want to fight for you. He's like, but if they do that same thing and you take them off to the side quietly and you have this conversation, or you meet with them later and say, hey, this isn't working. Like, we're going to have to change something, or you're not going to play. It's that simple, or I'm going to have to find something else. But like, I want you to be successful, but this is what I need as, a leader. And as this is my vision, and this is the film that I'm making, or that we're making, that I'm directing. And I need you to understand that, we've got to find a way to make it, to make this happen. But you do that in a respectful way and still being direct and honest. That is super important, because I've been around it. I've done it myself, where I failed and I let a moment get me, and I freaked out on something, or I popped off, and it's not good for everybody. Like, it makes the set, you're developing a toxic set, by doing that. And the military, it's banged some stuff into us, man. Like, it's hard to get out, and it can be effective. And there's a time and a place maybe for that. But in this environment, especially when you're dealing with, you got to remember, you got actors out there that are being vulnerable, and, they're allowing emotions to take hold of them. And like, those are the only people who should be expressing that anger, in a way like that, because that's serving the film. That's what's best for the movie. So anyway, like that, you know, once again, a very long answer. I love to do that. But I think there's a way to do both, you know, to balance that, you know, to be strong like mountain and light like feather at the same time, you know. It'll just, I mean, it'll help. That's what my favorite leaders in the military were like anyway, though, at the end of the day. Like when that aggression came out, it was on the battlefield, you know, and it wasn't directed towards their team, you know, and the people around them. So anyway, it's a tough one, but I'm with you on those leadership, you know, those principles of make a decision and delegate, you know, and let's go. And I'm eating last. Sorry, like I'm eating last because I want people to understand that, you know, if we got to clean the toilets, I'm taking the smallest toothbrush, and that's just the way it is because I'm the leader, you know, and I'm not going to put that on somebody else. So I think that absolutely, I don't know who told you that. Maybe they didn't understand what you're saying. I don't know, but I'm like, dude, that's what I want. You know, that's the person I want to follow.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Maybe they're talking about the mechanics of like there's a break in a set and everybody eats at this certain time. Maybe that's something I was like, but what could
they're worried about last. Yeah, whatever.
But it's a symbolic thing. Yeah.
They're worried about meal penalties. That's what they're worried about. It's like if the director ever charges for a meal penalty, that's a wrong set. Get out of there.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. I never thought about I oscillate between it. It's like, should I be, even when after the military, when I did civilian like middle management, I was like, man, should I be so direct? Or sometimes you want to, I have a friend I was in Marine Corps with, and he was a manager of a grocery store, and he was like, these people are so lazy because they were asking for breaks. And I was thinking, yeah, they are lazy. But then I thought, I was like, well, you know, they're probably just not getting up for 5 a.m. and eating MREs. They're actually normal people. And we're the abnormal ones. And I did IT and I get mad. I was like, what do you mean? You need a break? What are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, this guy didn't get up and run 10 miles and swim. Half a mile. And I was like, okay, all right, you're being reasonable. I'm being, you know, my expectations are unreasonable.
Yeah. No, you gotta let people rest. 5 days on, 2 days off. If you can do it, I'm telling you that from the first movie I worked on to the last couple, it's like night and day. Just the energy they have when people get an actual weekend, even if the weekend's Monday, Tuesday, because you're shooting on weekends. Like it's so good for people to get those 2 days off back to back and just recharge and, you know, anyway.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.
All right, we're actually out of time. This has been a really amazing conversation with you, Nate, and thank you again to Jonna for moderating. Boyanna, if you want to close everything
thank you, Jonna.
out. This has been such a great conversation. Thank you both.
Y'all are awesome. Thank you. Really appreciate it. It means a lot. I'm grateful to be able to be here and share, and anytime and anything you guys need. And yeah, if there are people that reach out to you and do want to, you know, reach out and be in contact, you know, let me know. I'll figure it out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Cheers.
Yeah, thank you, Nate. Thank you, Jonna. This was a great conversation. We really appreciate you having it here with us. Nate, thank you for all of your wisdom and your knowledge, and for the continued support that you're offering to our audience. And Jonna, thank you for such a thoughtful, moderated portion of the conversation. This was wonderful, and thank you to everybody who came, and especially those who asked questions and kept the conversation going. We appreciate you. And we invite you all to join us for our October Film Festival tomorrow, featuring our annual In Focus Veteran Cinema program. And that is at the South Park Center in downtown Los Angeles, starting at 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. So hope to see you all there. And have a great rest of your Friday.
See you guys. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hook 'em horns. Beat Georgia. You know, most importantly, I'm just kidding. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
See y'all.